The Digital Photography Cafe show is brought to you by Focus Pyramid, the autofocus lens calibration tool for your camera, and by ShootProof, the easy way to proof and sell your photos online.
Welcome to the Digital Photography Cafe show. Join hosts Trevor Curran and Joseph Christina as they chat about the art and business of photography.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. This is episode 139. I'm Joseph Christina. On last week's episode, we answered the questions, what should you give your client and how much should you charge? Associated Press fires Pulitzer Prize winning photographer, and we looked at the brand new Fuji X-T1. If you haven't watched last week's show, I encourage you to do so. You can find it at our website, digitalphotographycafe.com, and iTunes. Listen with the popular Stitcher, TuneIn, and Xbox music apps, or watch in HD on TiVo. So, all right, guys, we are back. It's another week, episode 139. Amazing. We are here for another week. Incredible. I'm excited. I wish Trevor could be here today. He cannot. We've been getting a lot of great feedback for him and well wishes and whatnot. I want to make sure you guys keep them coming. A lot of people, they want to know, like, how's he doing? So I kind of give you like a little update. I want to do it every show, but we're going to, every once in a while, we'll give you an update. So he is now halfway through his radiation treatments. So that is great. He's, his spirits are up. He's having a hard time swallowing, and so he's more on a liquid diet. So that's not great, but it's more hard for him to keep up weight just drinking. But he's got those insurers going and all the rest of the stuff, protein drinks or whatever, to keep him body and soul, I guess, together. So he's upbeat, so to speak. He's just in a little bit of pain, so it's not comfortable to speak right now, and swallowing is a little bit hard. So he's doing well. So just wanted to give you that update as you guys have asked for. And once again, keep those well wishes coming for him. It's truly appreciated. Thank you so much. So anyways, for me, it's been one of those weeks that it was a learning week, I guess you would call it. I do a lot of work with magazines, and I do, from cover stuff to big events to all different kinds of things. And usually there's not a problem. And this week there was a problem, and it was kind of the last straw, the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak, or however you want to call it. So it leads me to believe that we're going to start migrating things over to Gmail for our mail, because, well, let me just give you some backstory. So we were doing some work. There was we had a lot of really good pictures that need to go into a magazine. There was a big event that we did, and it was, of course, crunch time. You have a deadline when they need to be put in. Well, anyways, the deadline came and went, and we missed it. And that never, ever happens. Never, ever happens. And how it happened this time was that the email that we sent out with the pictures that need to go to press ended up never getting to the person. Even though we do things like we will send and carbon copy ourselves on it and carbon copy at least one or two other people on it to make sure that the mail did go out. We do this, kind of as a preventative. And everyone got the email besides the PR person that's supposed to have got it, that needed to get it in a timely manner. So really, really harsh. And we didn't know about it until the following day. There was no way to know. So these are the type of things that you have to look at and you say, okay, so now what do we need to do? And what has happened? And I'm sure a lot of you are having the exact same problem. Your mail is flooded with spam. You get more than your fair share of spam. And you send out mail, and sometimes people don't get it. So what is happening here? Well, what happens is if for some reason you are using, let's say, Comcast, or you're using, let's say it's Comcast. Well, Comcast has X number of servers that send out your email for you. They're called SMTP servers. Well, if any one of those SMTP servers gets black flagged by one of these spam companies as being the producer or the location where spam is originating, all the mail that goes to that specific server will get blocked from certain places. And you never know where or when or how or why. And it might only be blocked for a day, or it might be blocked for an hour, or for a week, who knows? But this is what has happened in this situation. Somehow, one of the SMTP servers, now our main big server that we pay a lot of money for is through GoDaddy. Well, one of GoDaddy's SMTP servers must have got blocked, and that's the PR person did not get our mail, but the other people that were CC'd did. So this is the type of thing that needs to be somehow circumvented. This cannot happen ever again. You live and learn. I've been doing this for over 20 years, like 23 years now. This has never happened. I can't believe it. So now what do you have to do? So now we're looking more into using Gmail as our mail platform to send out mail. You could use Yahoo, whoever you want to use. But I like Gmail very much because Google really understands spam. And they do a good job at mail. They do mail really, really well. Where I used to work as a server admin years and years back, I remember at the colo, I remember sitting in the server room and seeing racks and racks and racks and racks of server appliances that were doing basically spam. They were doing spam authentication and whatnot. So regardless, they get it right. And I'm sure if any one of you have a Gmail account, you'll notice that you don't get a lot of spam through it, number one. And no matter what you send out, it always gets there. And that's the reason, because these black flag, these companies that black flag accounts, black flag organizations, or like, for example, Comcast gets black flag because there's so many get so much bad emails going through them. They never black flag Gmail or Google. They just don't. So it will simply work. So that's what we're doing here. This is this week, which it wasn't fun, but it's one of those learning processes. You live and learn, and hopefully by me telling you guys, it might be something that you can look at your current process, the way you go about sending your mail out. Maybe it's something that you can somehow work into your process of sending it out. Maybe you send out through your normal server, but then also send out through a secondary server if it's mission critical, like what we have, a lot of mission critical things that go out that are very timely in nature. So anyways, little something for you guys, but we have a pretty good show for you this week. So before we go any further, let's take a quick break to hear from one of our sponsors.
As photographers, we're always trying to increase sales and profits after every event.
We shoot an event and have hundreds or even thousands of images that just sit on our hard drives.
Perhaps a better workflow would increase sales by getting those valuable images in front of the client.
That's where ShootProof comes in. At shootproof.com, you can have an online gallery for all of your clients' proofing needs.
ShootProof helps increase profits while building your brand and securing your photos without charging commission fees on sales.
ShootProof galleries display your photos beautifully while helping to streamline your workflow and automate more of your business through their intuitive studio control panel.
Once approved, photos can be directly fulfilled through ShootProof's various professional lab partners or fulfilled by you.
All ShootProof plans have the same feature set. You simply choose the number of client photos stored, decide what products to sell, and the price.
Try ShootProof today by taking advantage of their free 30-day trial offer.
As a Digital Photography Cafe viewer, ShootProof is offering a 20% discount off any of their premium plans by using promo code DPC20 at checkout.
ShootProof. Upload, share, sell, print.
So all right, guys, we are back. So anyways, let's move straight into it so we don't run long this week, as sometimes we do. Anyways, Olympus, they are now releasing a brand new camera into their OMD family lineup, and it is the EM10, which is basically the EM5 shrunk. So if you guys are familiar with the camera, that's what it is. It's the power of like an M1 and an M5 all compacted into an all metal body camera called the M10. So it's really it's impressive. It really looks nice. It has the TruePic 7, the image processor. It does 16 megapixels, Wi-Fi, the high-speed electronic viewfinder, which is truly high speed. They do a great job. They do 3-axis image stabilization. I like that a lot. Image stabilization is very important. Ultra fast, ultra fast. This is probably my favorite thing, autofocus. That's ultra fast autofocus. And that's the faster you can get that camera to lock in, the more, let's say, quality shots or timely shots you're going to be able to get. There's too many shots that happen just a spur of the moment, just spontaneously, and you try to get in, the thing's hunting and it doesn't want to lock up. That's so frustrating because you know you missed it by a second just because your camera didn't lock in. So ultra fast autofocus, great. It has a built-in flash, of course, just like the rest of them. Really an interesting camera, So this camera, this M10, is coming in second only to the Fujifilm's X-T1 that we spoke about last week. So it's definitely on the top. Now that's, if you think about it, second on the tier of just a ton of these micro four third cameras. That's pretty good. A lot of the pros, even myself included, will carry one of these smaller cameras where, to places that we don't want to take, quote unquote, the big camera, the pro camera, the big heavy DSLR camera. It's nice to know that you can go and get a really good shot out in the field and not have this big monstrosity with you. So I like it a lot. You go with the family here, there, and elsewhere, or you're off on an event that you're not, let's say, covering professionally, but you still want to get some great images out of it. These are the type of cameras that you want to carry with you because they're affordable. Many of the pros carry these cameras. So anyways, as far as cost goes, $699 is what it's going to be for the body, which isn't bad for what you're getting. If you would like the 14 to 42 lens, is I think what it is, like a pancake zoom, you can get that at the $799. It's $100 more. My problem with this lens is, and I'm sure if you guys have heard the show over the last 100, close to 140 shows, I don't like a meandering f. So this is going to sit at an f3.5 and then meander up to f5.6. I personally like a non-variable focal length. I like consistency. I think consistency is paramount because at least you can take one piece of the puzzle out. Not like you're zoomed in at let's say you're zoomed all the way in and you're at 5.6 and you zoom out, now you're at 3 and you're constantly meandering all over the place. And for me, I'm usually using manual and I'm dialing things in, or aperture priority, let's say. I don't want that, compensation, and it's hard to compensate when the stuff is constantly moving around. I like stuff. So for me, I would say don't get that lens for $100. Go and pick up one of their better lenses. They have a 25 millimeter 1.8, which is unbelievable, and it's a fixed. Stays at 1.8. It's a 25 millimeter 1.8, and it's beautiful. If you want to change your focal length, change your positioning. Walk forward, walk backwards, and there you have it. You don't need to zoom in, zoom out, and have this meandering focal length. So anyways, that's my personal opinion. For $100, it is cheap to get that lens, but I just don't buy anything that's not a fixed focal length. Anyway, so the pros like it. I like it. I think it's good. I think any time that you can get a camera for under $1,000 that will take a really decent picture when you're out in the field and you don't have to take the big monstrosity with you, you're doing yourself a favor. So that is the Olympus OMD M10. Brand new. Very, very cool. Anyways, moving forward. Post-processing software. Now, people will think, well, what does this matter? And they ask, what do you use? And well, everyone knows at this point, I use Lightroom. I used to use Aperture a lot. Lightroom is the choice for me. If I'm on other machines, I'll use stuff like GIMP. I use just about anything. But the majority of my almost 1 million, or maybe we're over 1 million at this point, the last time I checked, photographs are in Lightroom. And that's the way it's been since Lightroom 1, from the very, very beginning. So they did a poll, and this is Digital Photography School that did this poll, and they did this poll 3 times so far, and they do it every 2 years. And they say, what do you use? What is the post-processing software for you? What do you use? And they divide it into Lightroom, Photoshop, Photoshop Elements, Picasa, Aperture, GIMP, PaintShop Pro, iPhoto, and other. And what's very interesting, that I find interesting here, is that Lightroom is up the last 2 years, 10%. It's up to 42%. That's right, 42% of everyone that's doing that is taking pictures and editing. They're editing with Lightroom. That is a big chunk. And then second to that is now Photoshop and Photoshop Elements. Now they're down from 34% down to 30%. Well, where did that other 4% go? Chances are it's part of that 10% that just increased on Lightroom. So, that's very interesting. So you're looking at Adobe that is commanding close to 60% of all image editing out there that's being done. It's Adobe product that's doing it. So then you have Picasa, they're down 2%. Aperture, down 2%. GIMP, down 1%. The only one that's holding steady is Paint Shop Pro, which is a Corel product. They're sitting at 3% of the populace using them. And iPhoto is down also 1 or 2%. So now, why do we care? Or what is important about this? What do I take out of it that I want to give you? So I look at it and I say, well, 60% of everyone is using Lightroom. Now, we know Lightroom is $100, $200. It's cheap. Depends on when you get it. And it's not $600-$700 at the old Photoshop. To get Photoshop years ago, you're buying a suite or you're buying it separately for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars, number one. And then number two, it was very difficult to use, right? Photoshop was very hard to use and it had a huge learning curve to get it and to understand it. So we would rely, a lot of us, and we would take these great photographs, but then we would do all the trickery, all the back end post-processing to make the images look absolutely stellar. From great, we would turn them exceptional. We'd make them stellar in post-processing, which is what we're supposed to do. That's our job. It's like a film photographer taking a great shot and then going into the darkroom and knowing how to develop that film to optimize the shot that they captured, right? It's the same thing that we do, but in our dark room is now our monitor. So, this whole point of entry has now been dumbed down. And we now know that the majority of the people are using Lightroom, which is an affordable package. So what does that say? That tells me that the pros are no longer just competing with fellow pros. We are now competing with the Tom, Dick, and Harrys out there, the Uncle Bucks with the quote-unquote good camera that is coming to the wedding and this type of thing, right? So that is seriously, seriously problematic. Very, very, it hits to the core of what we're doing here. Are we going to be able to continue as pro photographers? Or are we going to slowly go away, the way of the dinosaur and start becoming extinct based on the ease of photographs? I mean, I took a photograph of a very affluent couple at a party. Matter of fact, this party that we had problems with just the other day. And the person actually asked me, how much better is the picture that you're taking over the one that I'm going to take here with my iPhone? And I look at him and it's like, you guys know the pain that I felt, right? And how I have to hold back and not really answer how I would like to answer. But the bottom line is, this is what is on the minds of the populace. These cameras, these phones are good enough. And good enough seems to be good enough these days. That's a problem. So looking at this, we say, now what can we as pro photographers do about this? What can we do about this? The bottom line is it comes down to your photo quality. What do you produce? Do your photos tell a story, or are they simply a snapshot? Anyone can do a snapshot, but to take a photo with meaning is difficult. It takes thought. It takes knowledge. It takes an understanding of the camera, where the camera becomes an extension of you as a tool and not something that is impeding you from creating that work of art, that photo. Next, it includes customer service. What do you give after the fact? How do you take care of the client when you're done? Are these pictures, given to them in a timely manner when they need them? Are they printed? When you say you're printing them, you're going to do a pro print for them. You can't go to Eckerd Drugs and print it for them and then go and give them and hope that it's going to be great. No, you need to professionally print. That means that you need to know the printer that you're going to be printing on. Either it's something that you have in studio, or it's something that you go outside to a printer to have printed your photos, professionally printed, like for example, what we do. We have a great lab that does amazing work. But the thing is, for us, and hopefully for you guys, we have their ICC profiles on file. If you guys don't know what those are, you should look them up. An ICC profile gives us the ability to soft proof the images before they get printed. So when you load up, let's say Photoshop, you can load in an ICC profile, hit soft proof, and then you'll know exactly what it's going to look like when it prints through their printing device. That is critical. How many times you see people print, a whole lot, 500 pictures from a wedding, and you look at them and everything is magenta. And it's like, why are people purple? Because I know that the people that were there, they weren't purple, but every picture, or they're green, or they're cyan, they're dead. It looks horrible. You can't do that. If you say you're giving them pro prints, you need to make sure you give them pro prints. Also, if you're doing, let's say, a wall, I call it wall art, and you do a huge print, it's got to look great. It's got to look fantastic. That means that you got to edit it to be the size of a wall and not edit it the size of a wallet. Okay, very, very important. Also, if you say you're going to give someone an album, a leather album, with your wedding, we're going to give you this leather album. Well, you need to give them leather. If you say you're going to give them Italian leather, you're going to give them Italian leather. If you say that you're going to give them genuine leather, you give them leather, genuine leather. So many times these companies that are out there, the cheaper album companies, they'll say that it's leather. When you get it, I would say it's pleather. Because if it's leather, it's pretty shady leather. So be careful with that. Give what you say you're going to give. It's very important. If you're going to give them an album, and the album that you showed them, the 2 or 3 albums that you showed them before their wedding, it looks identical to the album that you're going to give them because you use the exact same hideous cutouts, templates that you bought for $39.95 at some site, shame on you. You're not going to get future business. If you make an album, spend the time to make a custom album for that bride and groom. It's very, very important. So round robin, back to the top, what we're talking about here. Simply knowing that Lightroom and Photoshop, but specifically Lightroom, where it's really reasonable, is the number one method of post-processing, tells me, and hopefully you, that we need to step up our game. We need to make sure that our work is stellar and not mediocre. Anyways, we got a lot more for you this week. We're going to take one more break to hear from our sponsor.
Are you frustrated with slightly out of focus images when you know your autofocus spot was dead on? It's simply not your fault. From manufacturer to manufacturer, and even lens copy to lens copy, there are slight variances to the exact spot where light is being focused onto the sensor. Finally, there's a product that allows you to compensate for those variances and make sharper images immediately. Focus Pyramid, the autofocus lens calibration tool, is an absolute must for every photographer. If you want to make the sharpest images possible, then you need to take control over your camera's focusing system. With the Focus Pyramid, you can calibrate all of your lenses on your lunch break. The Focus Pyramid makes lens calibration quick and easy at an affordable price. So give your lenses a new lease on life and take your photography to the next level. Head over to focuspyramid.com/DPC and get an additional 10% off just for being a show listener.
Sorry, guys, we are back. So Nikon's in the news, so to speak, I guess in the rumor news, for their new quote-unquote D610. And what is it? Now, it was, 6+ shows ago, maybe 10, I don't know. It's been a while now. We talked about the Nikon D610 being a replacement for the D600 merely to fix the D600 and not to actually add anything to the camera line. And it was kind of, some people said, yeah, that's not right. Well, I think we were possibly right here. And the reason being is that we know that Nikon's D600 has been notorious for oil and dust and just crud on the sensor. And the number of people that have returned this camera for service is, I'm sure, immense. And we just found over on Nikon Rumors a photocopy, a picture of an invoice of a repair ticket, which is very, very interesting and very telling. Now, the repair ticket shows a problem of being sensor dust. And the product is a D600. Now, what's interesting here is in the notes on what to do, it says the fix is replacement of product. That's the D610, not a D600 is what will replace it. So that means to me that, this party now, obviously it might not have been the first time that they had this problem with their D600. Who knows? Maybe it wasn't the second time. It was the third. I don't know. But somehow this person is now going from a D600 and is being upgraded to the D610 due to this dusty, dirty, problematic sensor. Pretty interesting, right? Now, so I look at it as, well, that's good, it's bad. I mean, yes, we're probably, if this is correct, we were right in our assumptions back when we said that the D600, is basically simply a fix. The D610 is simply a fix for the D600. But I have to give kudos to Nikon here, because if this is the case, we know Nikon will have to spend a ton of money to be able to actually take D600s and replace them for D610s, because they're not getting any money for it. They're just direct replacement here. But by them showing this type of customer service, even just from this one receipt that we see here, really, really shows that they care about their customers. And we have to give them kudos, so kudos to Nikon here, if that's the case. Now, so don't think that if you have this problem, you're just going to immediately get the brand new Nikon D610 that will repair your problem with your dusty sensor. But my suggestion to you guys are, if you do have this camera, send it back. If you have any problem with dust, send it back. And if it continues, send it back again and again, because chances are you're going to eventually get upgraded to this brand new camera that will completely fix the problem. So if you have it, return it. If you have any problems, definitely return it. Don't wait. Moving forward, Canon. Now, Canon's in also the rumor mill here this week, and this is kind of interesting because my company is Allure Multimedia. I am a hybrid multimedia company owner, right? So I'm not just a photographer, I'm a videographer. I'm not just a videographer, I'm an editor. We have on board photographers, videographers that I hire in, and we have editors, right? So we do the whole soup to nuts thing, and we've done that from the beginning. And chances are you guys are starting to do the same thing, because maybe your photo business is not as happening, so to speak, as it was years ago. Well, we need to move into something else, maybe some moving images instead of stills, and that would go into video. So a lot of us have moved into, like, on the Canon line, the Canon D7D, or possibly a 5D Mark II or a 5D Mark III or whatnot, for doing some really nice high-end DSLR video. So what's rumored is a 2.5K camera that has a global shutter. And this is amazing because if you think about some of your photos or some of your videos that you've taken with these cameras, and you notice that if things move through the frame really quickly, what happens? They turn into jello, right? It's the jello effect. It's that rolling shutter effect. Well, that's what happens with a rolling shutter. So now you say, well, what the heck is a rolling shutter? What is it? What is that? What is a global shutter? What is a rolling shutter, and why should I care? If you think about the rolling shutter as what you have right now, or what I have on a Canon 5D, Mark II, Mark III, on the 70s or whatever, what it is if you take the shutter, if you take the sensor, what happens is that you divide it into quadrants. Let's say it's 100 cubes, so it'd be 10 by 10, 10 rows, 10 columns. What it will do is record in the top line. So it'll take the first 10, the line, and then go down to the next 10 and the next 10 and the next 10 and the next 10, straight through, like rolling straight through that frame. So it will capture all 10 lines. Now, 10 is just obviously just a number out there. Could be 100 lines, a million lines, whoever. Let's just consider it 10. It will do 10 and 10 and 10 and 10 all the way straight through. If you think about that, it's like let's say if you're over the age of 30 or 40, the old TVs, the old tube TVs, if you're not dead on locked in, you'll see the picture start rolling and rolling and rolling. Well, that's how it is capturing this video, by rolling and rolling, hence a rolling shutter. The problem with that is if something is moving through the frame really quickly, it's going to capture that first line, and by the time it gets down to the very last line on the sensor, the image already moved. So you get this gelat effect, where it looks like crap. Bottom line, it does not look good at all. And this is just the mechanism of how modern day DSLRs capture video. This is how it is. Well, now we're moving into this global or total shutter. So now think about it this way. Instead of capturing line by line and rolling, let's say 10 captures for every frame, and doing that 24 times, so it's 24 times at 204. Now think about it capturing the full frame in one smack, one grab. So all 100 of those little cubes are captured in one click. And it does that 24 times. So now you got 24 full shots instead of 240, all these little segments that it kind of merges together. And then later on in processing, it tries to fix this quote unquote jello effect, which it never can do, and it can't do it well, at least. So by capturing it frame by frame by frame, it will stop this completely. And now all of a sudden, we will be able to capture video just like the movie guys do. So the indie folks out there are ecstatic about this, because what that means is now the cost at capturing these full frames, this quote unquote total shutter, global shutter video, that cost is going to drop substantially. So this is big news for any of us that will be capturing video in the future or currently capture video. Now, we do notice that there's a big sell-off of video capturing equipment out there right now. So this might not be 100% substantiated that this is definitely going on and that Canon's going to be the one that releases this, but I think it's pretty certain that this is right around the corner. And who knows, maybe it's the Canon 7D Mark II or something, or who knows what they're going to call this thing. But I think it is right around the corner. Now, what's going to happen is it's going to have to be more expensive, because if you think about it, instead of only capturing line by line by line and dumping the data, in these small clumps of data onto the card, it's going to have to process all 100 of those cubes simultaneously 24 times a second. So we can imagine that these cameras are going to have to go from like 1 core to 2 core to maybe even 4 core cameras to be able to do this. So the price is definitely going to go up. So very, very exciting. Look for this. If you never heard of it, you don't know, if someone asks you, well, what is this rolling shutter? Why does this look like Jello? And what's the difference between a global shutter and this rolling shutter? Well, now you know. We told you here on Digital Photography Cafe. We try to educate, but then also tell you what's up and coming, so you know that if you do start seeing this come and it's something that interests you, you might want to find your way over to eBay and put some of those video quote-unquote cameras like the 7Ds and all the rest up for sale before everyone else does and the price drops dramatically. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. We're going to have to get out of here before we run long. We don't want to do that. All right, guys. If you'd like to connect with myself or Trevor, you can do so through Twitter. That's at Trevor Current or at Joseph Christina, and that's Christina without an H. And you can get all the show notes from this episode by visiting digitalphotographycafe.com/139. And don't forget to send your questions and comments to comments@digitalphotographycafe.com or simply call 440-345-6707. Once again, that's 440-345-6707, and we will see you next week.
You've been watching the Digital Photography Cafe show with Trevor Current and Joseph Christina. Be sure to subscribe to the show for free in iTunes or through RSS. You can also listen on Stitcher and TuneIn Radio and watch in HD on TiVo. Visit digitalphotographycafe.com for show notes and to connect with your hosts.